So we talked about percentage of change when it comes down to increases, right? So like increasing height and stuff like that. But what about decreases? Can you have that too? Yeah. Sometimes the numbers look a little bit weird, so we're going to talk about that. Let's look at an example like this. So let's say me, on day one, I have 105 bucks in the bank. I'm happy. By day two, I go down to 82 bucks. I lost like 20 something dollars, right? So that's not great versus my niece who started with $11 in the bank, and on day two, she went down to 3. Now, just like with the concept we talked about before, we both have start off in different places. And if somebody says, well, who lost more money? Well, I lost more money, right? I lost 20 something bucks. She only lost like 8, right? But percentage of change takes into account how much you started with, right? Because technically, her perspective is different than mine. She has 11. That's all the money she's got. I got 100 something, right? So the change is going to be maybe a little different, right? The percentage of change will add context to that and think about where you started with. So let's look at me, for example. So on day one, I started at 105 bucks. And then on day two, I went down to $82, okay? So we're going to do same thing we're going to do last time. Now this is going to give us some slightly different numbers, so don't get too lost yet, okay? So we do final amount, take away starting amount. So I end with 82, start off with 105, okay? That is going to be $23. Now, what kind of 23? It's a negative 23. Now, this is where it comes down to you thinking, well, yeah, it makes sense, right? Because I went down $23, okay? So now what do we do with this? Remember what we did last time? We took that and we divided it by the original amount, by 105, okay? Now, you can include the negative if you want to. The negative is just there to make you remind yourself, oh yeah, especially if your brain turns off and you start just doing the math just all willy-nilly, you can say, oh yeah, that means, remember, I lost that money. So you can kind of include or exclude the negative as you see fit, okay? So when I divide that, I get 2.219, and I get a bunch of decimal places after that. So again, I'm going to simplify that down. Remember, move the decimal 2 places to the right. So 21.9% decrease in funds, right? So I lost from $105 to $82. I lost 21.9% of my funds. Now, how much did she lose? Well, let's find out. Okay, so we do the same math, really. We'll divide this up into 2 sections. So again, she started with 11 bucks, and then she went down to $3, okay? Just like last time, I'll do the final amount, which is 3, take away the initial. So that would end up being negative 8. Remember, the negative is just there for you to say, oh yeah, that means I lost 8 bucks, okay? So she lost $8. And remember, how much did she start with? She started with 11. She started with $11, right? So negative 8 divided by 11. Again, you don't need the negative there. The negative is just there to denote that it is a decrease, okay? So how much percentage did she lose? She lost, 0.727, and it kind of repeats on and on. So I'm just going to stop here. So 72.7% decrease. Now, even though she lost less money than I did, her percentage of decrease was so much more because she had very little at the beginning, right? So her perspective is like, oh my gosh, I lost almost all my money. Whereas me, I'm like, I lost more, but my percentage is different because I started off with more. So this takes into account your perspective of things, okay? And that does say decrease. I just noticed that got cut off. Hopefully that made sense though. Have a good one, and let me know if you need any help with percentage of change.